All right, guys, quick, simple mission brief this week. How to know if you are going to see a good counselor or a bad counselor. I've seen a lot of both. I get counseling, individual counseling. My wife's had counseling. We've had couples counseling. We've had kids in counseling from time to time, whatever they're going through. We've done virtual. We've done in person, as well as I offer counseling, right? So I do relationship coaching, mostly for men, but a lot of couples and women as well, because they just want a man's perspective. So I'm all over the world of counseling, both as a giver of it and a receiver of it. And I can tell you there's a lot of bad counselors out there, a lot of bad advice. And it's a lot to wade through when you know you need counseling and you start that journey and you go to one and you're like, man, I don't know if we're a good fit. So you got to be a good fit with your counselor. It's got to be somebody that you want to take advice from. And then, of course, there's the old school, counseling approach where they don't tell you anything and they just keep asking you, what do you think? And I feel like this one's kind of dying off because people want some advice. People are like, listen, if I knew the answer, why would I be here? Right? So don't just ask me what I think. Give me your advice. And this is one of the differences between coaching and counseling. There's a lot of other differences, and that's not what this podcast is about today. But when we go see a coach or a counselor, one of the best, clearest ways that we can know whether or not this person is a good one or not is by this difference. A bad counselor will give you advice to shut down and end relationships and terminate relationships and walk away from relationships, where a good counselor or a good coach will give you the tools to repair and restore and fix relationships. So that's just the one clear, simple one that I want to give you today. Of course, there's a lot of other things that somebody can do wrong. There's a million ways we could list that somebody might be a bad counselor. But that is one of the key differentiators. I'll give you an example. Couple of years ago, when my wife and I were going through a rough spot in our marriage, I was getting counseling. I was getting marriage counseling. And at the time, I was getting it virtually, which doesn't really matter, not super relevant to this. But I had a female counselor, and we were meeting virtually. And I was sitting in my truck for our appointment, and I was talking with her about a problem with my marriage. And she said, if you're so unhappy, then why are you still married? Now, that surprised me, right? I don't need counseling to end a marriage. I don't need to go see a counselor if my goal is to walk away from the marriage. So obviously I felt like, well, why do you think I'm here? But this was years ago, and this revealed to me, this opened up to me an entire school of counseling. There's an entire approach out there where counselors are advising people to do what makes them happy. And so it's not about what's right. It's not about what a person should do. They would never use words like should or ought. It's how do you feel? Are you happy? If you're not, then let's terminate this relationship in your life. Let's label this person toxic and let's shut them out of our life. And this is the advice that is being given out there. It was advice given to me, and that was the last time I saw that counselor. So I want to get counseling from somebody who's going to help me see that the problems I'm in are temporary. How can we better communicate? How can we better resolve conflict? How can we increase the communication, the emotional intimacy, like all this stuff. These are my goals when I go to a counselor. My goal is not how can I end this and go make myself free of this problem. My goal is let's work through this problem and restore relationship. So right off the bat, guys, I want to tell you, if you're getting counseling and it's telling you end the relationship, walk away from it, shut this person out of your life, label them toxic and have nothing left to do with them, you're seeing a bad counselor. If you're talking with a counselor and they're talking to you about how you need to communicate with this person and how you need to establish boundaries with this person, but again, boundaries have gates for the person to come through. It tells the person how to have a relationship with you. Walls just straight up keep people out. So don't fall into this counseling out there that is actually encouraging divorces, encouraging people to walk away from relationships, because it's very pleasing to our ears when our counselor tells us do what makes you happy. And honestly, it kind of ticks us off sometimes when a counselor says, you're in the wrong and here's what you need to do to make things right in a relationship. So I get why counselors are doing it. Counselors are trying to be popular. They're trying to be liked. They want their clients to like their advice so that they'll come back for more. And oftentimes they're giving advice that is absolutely against the Word of God. So be on the lookout for that, guys. It's not about ending relationships. It's about fixing them.